Okay. Oh my gosh. Hello, everyone. Sorry, I'm late. Zoom decided to hijack my camera and not let go, so I couldn't get my camera up. Anyway, everyone, my name is Dr. Garrett Smith. We have my new background. I haven't fully fixed it yet, so I apologize, but it's better than the wall. So I will be working on this. Lots of cool things going on. Oh, microphone. Always forget that. The dangers of going live. So I am the nutrition detective, Dr. Garrett Smith of nutritiondetective.com and the Love Your Liver program. I'm really sorry for the late start, but my computer was just decided to, crap itself today. I had some topics I wanted to talk about, but since we have so many questions, usually I don't come in here to questions. It usually takes a long time for the questions to build up, but we'll hit on the questions and then go from there. So Fully Human asks, if most fish is toxic, what is the best food to get omega-3 fatty acids, or are they even necessary as people say? Okay. I'm not going to go look for the links right now, but okay. Do you need to eat fish for omega-3 fatty acids? No. Do you need to eat animal products for fatty acids? No, this is like the lie about retinol and carotenoids, and you need to eat preformed retinol. Omega-3s are, how do I put this? Basically, there was an experiment where they fed rats no fat at all. No fat. And the rats got dry skin, they got brittle hair, they had all sorts of problems happen to them. And all they had to do was to start feeding the rats or the mice, I forget which one it was, some plant foods. And then all the fat issues went away. That was it. So funny thing for people who bring up rabbit starvation, that maybe all those guys had to do, the explorers, all they had to do was to eat some plant foods. Might have fixed the problem. We don't, in the Love Your Liver program, we don't discuss omega-3s at all because it's not necessary. If you're eating animal protein like red meat or chicken, and you're eating plant foods, beans, grains, maybe some fruit here and there, the omega-3 thing is not an issue. That's it. Everybody's obsessed about the omega. Why everybody says omega-6s are so bad? If you don't eat seed oils, there is no omega-6 issue. It's only so when I talk a lot about adding fats to your diet, like added fats outside of what you're actually eating should be as minimal as necessary. Now I get into inside the program overtypes and undertypes, and the undertypes need more fat than overtypes generally. I'm not going to explain that here, but undertypes may need to add some fats. Overtypes, which if you're overweight and when you eat when you're stressed. If when you get stressed, you want to eat versus the people who absolutely lose their hunger when they're stressed. If you want to eat when you're hungry and you are overweight, the last thing you need to be doing is adding fat to your diet. It doesn't mean you're on a no-fat or a low-fat diet. It means don't add extra fats to your diet. It's simple. So somebody tried to peg me as, oh, you're low-fat or you're no-fat. No, I eat enough fat. I tell people to eat the fat that is in the foods that they're choosing to eat, which is the way God intended it, right? God didn't design us to have to eat any oils at all, or butter for that matter. Shouldn't there be enough fat in animal foods and plant foods put together? So omega-3s is not an issue in my world. If you're not in the program and you're not reading my stuff and you're not doing all of it, I can't speak for you. You can't say you're doing what I recommend or what I advise people to figure out for themselves. Okay. Free Michigan says, I heard you say that essential oils are not healthy. Correct. Does that apply to essential oils that are in cleaning products, soap, toothpaste, and mouthwash too? Generally, I would say yes. I was trying to think of the term to use, because I know let me see if I can figure it out. What I'm thinking is, I know there's a huge thing about hospitality workers dying of cancer early, like cleaning folks, the folks who do the cleaning, because they're constantly exposed to all these toxic chemicals. They are breathing them, right? Our lungs, for better or worse, are made to absorb things. So if you're putting essential oils into things to inhale, a lot of that's aldehydes and terpenes that you don't want. You may not realize it yet because some of you are in a pyramid scheme and you've been sold that these are the greatest things since sliced bread. They're not. They are affecting your liver. They're aldehydes, terpenes, all sorts of compounds that your body, you don't need them. They are not essential. I don't know where the word essential came other than they're essential to the smell of the plant, I guess. But no one has an essential oil deficiency. We know they are aldehydes, a lot of them. If you are using them on your bare hands because you think they're safe, you're absorbing it through your skin, you're breathing it through your nose. So in my tooth powder, I use the Dirty Mouth black spearmint tooth powder. If they made an unflavored, I would get it. I'll put it that way. They don't make an unflavored, and I want to have something to brush my teeth with, so I get their black spearmint. But I mean, do I know that menthol is an alcohol? Yeah. So can't be perfect, but I sure don't have everything you use should be as unscented as possible. That's it. So do I still use some things that have scents in them because I haven't found better options yet? Yeah, like that tooth powder. When I find one, I'll use it. Maybe I'll make one. So yeah. Okay. Ford Nut asks, I'm currently taking vitamin C and quercetin for the virus. I don't take quercetin when I'm not sick, and vitamin C dose is dramatically reduced when not sick. You seem to be opposed to this. I'm not going to get too much into this, but liver problems long term. So the virus causes a massive bile dump. That is where the symptoms come from. If you don't understand this, you might want to get into the program so you can read about this and how it comes about. It is a massive bile dump into the system. The more comorbidities people have, and the heavier they are, the more stored toxins they have, the worse off they are. This is in the literature. This is pretty straightforward. Why do they have it worse? Because they have worse bile. They have more bile. Overweight people tend to be able to make more bile. It's more toxic. They store more of it. They have like a perfect storm of all this stuff coming on. And then they're also probably on more medications, which has caused them more liver injury. Okay. So short term, if they had a huge problem, what I have found in common with all of the supposedly successful medications and supplements for this viral problem is that they inhibit the enzyme called ALDH, aldehyde dehydrogenase. Quercetin does. I have the research. Vitamin C does. Vitamin C inhibits ADH and ALDH, and high doses of vitamin C is shown in the research to exacerbate fatty liver. Nobody told you that, did they, when they were selling you on the vitamin C, whether it's food-based or not? The mectin drug, the chloroquine drug, and now the motidine drug. I have research on all of them inhibiting ALDH. This is too big an explanation for me to get in here, but I'm going to tell you that can you shut down the worst symptoms of this problem by shutting down ALDH? Yes. That's the short-term fix. Long-term, slowing down your ALDH is how you get fatty liver and how you get chronic disease. As I've talked about before, there's the slow death and the fast death. The body will always choose the slow death over the fast death. But in this case, what you're choosing, so basically, by slowing down ALDH and slowing down the bile dump, you're keeping all that toxic bile in your liver. You're stopping the bile dump. So you get to keep it all. And you're probably damaging your detox systems for a long time afterwards. So, if and when this happens again, because a lot of people thought once they had it once, it wasn't going to happen again. And now people are finding out some people are getting it 2 or 3 times. What I have seen in the people who, there's two ways to come through this if you don't suppress it. So what I'm going to tell you is those meds are suppressive. They are suppressing your detox system, and in that way, they can get you out of it quickly. What they are doing is going to leave a trail of destruction in your liver that will end up, you will pay a price later. And what, just like medications and poisons, later on, the problem tends to hit harder. Kind of like alcoholics who quit alcohol completely and then they go back to it and then they drink themselves to death. This is what happens. Like, it's the poison, it catches up. The poison always wins is the saying. So if you suppress the bile and the ALDH, later on it's going to be worse, or you're going to get a different disease. You push, it's like the whack-a-mole. You push down this, you suppress this disease and this one pops up. That's not what we are trying to do. My suggestion is, if a person gets this viral condition, and do I believe in the standard germ theory of viruses anymore? No, I absolutely don't. Viruses are an expression of toxicity. That's it. I'm slowly getting the research to show that the viruses show up when there's toxicity. Where are they made? I got some studies showing that viruses are really high in the bile. Where would they come from then? Oh, the liver. Do we talk about the liver? Maybe just a bit. I also have research now showing that aldehyde dehydrogenase goes up in fever. Why would that happen? Oh, to get rid of the aldehydes, maybe? So we can then suppress fevers with things that damage ALDH. So if people, like when I experienced this condition, I purposely did not try to suppress it. I took some magnesium baths to make myself feel a little more comfortable, relax. I took a couple days just to help me sleep, because I decided that sleep was more worth, the sleep was more valuable than taking a couple of Alka-Seltzer, which are aspirin. I decided that the sleep was worth it, and I absolutely felt better from getting the sleep because it helped with the body aches. But that was like maybe 5 times. And then I still worked the entire time, and I had some coffee about 5 days in a 2-week span. But I purposely did not go and quercetin and D3 and do other things, because every one of those things I know slows down ALDH. A key factor to helping the liver is to help ALDH. Help. Here's the problem. A lot of things in the literature, here's the thing. In alcohol. The duration paradox. If you haven't listened to me long enough to understand the duration paradox, I don't know, go review some stuff. But duration paradox is very simply things that often seem to help a lot in the short term destroy the very same thing in the long term. Think of pharmaceuticals. Caffeine. Caffeine helps my energy short term, and then it leaves you tired later. That's what it does. Viagra helps my erectile dysfunction short term. Viagra, if you use it too many times, will make it so that you cannot function without it, and later it will stop working at all, and nothing works until you start injecting it. This is the duration paradox. So these things that help short term will cause problems long term. If somebody was on the verge of going to the hospital, would I absolutely suggest using these things? Yes, they're a short term. I mean, how many things does the hospital do that short term will save a life, but long term just wreck everything? I mean, like everything they do, basically. But they might save your life short term. So you got to realize there's short term payoff and long term damage. If you're not bad, if you can manage it at home, don't suppress it, is what I say. And most of the things that you read on these websites of these controlled opposition health experts are all suppressive. They're all suppressive. Your zinc should have been fixed a long time before you got this. But how do we fix it? We test, we don't guess, and then we address the issue. I won't get into that. But anyway, yeah, so I don't use bioflavonoids anymore. Bioflavonoids are in the polyphenol class of compounds, which means they slow down ALDH and deplete B1. Not what I'm after. Phytoestrogens are polyphenols. All sorts of things are polyphenols known to slow down ALDH and deplete B1. And if we watch, ever since so many people got into supplements, most people they may feel a little better at the start of the supplements, but over time they just go back to the way they felt before. The duration paradox. This is the part that I'm different in evaluating things, because other people will look at a cell study or a 2-week study, like boron supplements. Oh, this 10-day study showed a huge increase in testosterone. Oh, but when you look at sodium borate and boric acid long-term in mice and rats, it completely destroys their fertility. Oh, the duration paradox. Short-term, it probably destroyed testicular cells. What's inside testicular cells? Testosterone. Where does the testosterone go? Oh, into the blood. Oh, we see a short-term raise in testosterone, but a long-term decrease in fertility. You destroy enough testicular cells, you destroy fertility. Do you see how this works? So, yeah, people who I know who didn't suppress this issue generally came out on the other side, and they actually say, I feel better than I did before. I know several people who have said this, including myself. Why is that? Because they dumped a massive amount of bile into their bloodstream and into their bowels, and they dealt with it. Yes, it felt like hot garbage, and they dealt with it, and they got rid of it. And then there's the long virus issue people. And what happened to them? They dumped so much toxic bile. There's a paper called Severe Cholangiopathy. Let me see. Here it is. If you don't know what the long issue is, the long issue is simply bile duct damage. The title of the paper is Cholangiopathy After Severe C word, Clinical Features and Prognostic Implications. What would severe cholangiopathy is damage to the bile ducts. How does intrahepatic and extrahepatic cholestasis happen? It is damage to the bile ducts inside the liver and outside the liver, which causes bile to leak into the system. So you're always releasing bile. At least that's what you want to be doing. But think of it as the flood of bile that is so toxic. It's toxic to your liver cells. It's toxic to the bile ducts in your liver. It's toxic to the bile ducts outside of your liver. It's toxic to your gut, causes leaky gut. It's toxic to your gut biome. It causes the wrong bacteria to be able to thrive and the right ones don't. They had a flood of super toxic bile. Think of flood damage now. So, right, there's a flood. There's the initial emergency, right, which is where people are actively sick. The flood comes and goes. The rain stops. The flood washes out. What is left? Flood damage. If you have really toxic people who are still releasing toxic bile on that flood damage every day, it may take them a very long time to fix it, especially if they don't know what to do. Or they keep, I don't know, eating high-fat diets, eating high-sugar diets, drinking alcohol, smoking, not ever getting any sunlight, not ever getting any exercise. They have zinc deficiency, selenium deficiency, molybdenum deficiency, magnesium deficiency, potassium deficiency, whatever it is for that person, they're not fixing it. And they keep putting in, they put toxic cosmetics on their face. They're using essential oil cleaning supplies. They're taking their antidepressant or their benzo or their heartburn medication or their birth control pills, whatever. And they keep causing the liver injury over and over and over again, so nothing gets to fix. It's all part of a plan. And if you think any of these mainstream alternative people are going to save you from it, the reason they were allowed to get big as mainstream alternative people is because they're controlled opposition. There's controlled opposition what are the most important areas? See, the most important areas that people haven't considered, there's politics and there's financial and there's conventional medicine. But nobody seems to think that over in the alternative medical world that controlled opposition could have come in there. Oh, they're fully in there. That was the easiest place for them to come in. And the people in the alternative world are just looking for an alternative, so they tend to listen to any BS that's spewed their way. I was there. I listened to it. Candida's causing all the problems in the world. Yeah, I did that. Toxic metals are everything. Yeah, I did that. Carbohydrates are the cause of all disease. Yeah, right. Okay. That's why we have salivary amylase in our mouth. We have an enzyme. The first enzyme in our digestive system is for starches. Give me a break. We have molars for chewing plant matter. But we also have incisors and forward-facing eyes and an acidic stomach. We're designed for both. So then you get the two sides, right? You always got to have the two sides for people to choose. This is part of how they brainwash you and get you into their game. They have the conventional side, and then they have the hard alternative side. Maybe the answer would be kind of somewhere in the middle. There's like meat only all day, eat the whole animal, and then you have vegan all day. And then people are going from one to the other. What I see that's the worst now, oh my gosh, I'm seeing the nose to tail carnivore people who are so poisoned in vitamin A. Now they're introducing sugar into their diets. Honey and fruit and all this, and they're just fatty liver all time. Oh gosh, it's going to be so bad. And then the Ray Peters who are trying to convince people that sugar is the answer, like white sugar and Mexican Cokes and orange juice is the answer. They lost their minds. They have seriously lost their minds that they actually think. I mean, I did it for a bit, so I'm not saying that I didn't fall for it. I fell for it a little bit. I never wanted to do that much sugar. But other people are they're adding sugar to their milk. Let me just tell you one thing about this history of controlled opposition in the nutrition industry. The early research on dairy and the vitamins within it, and calcium was done by the Rockefellers. We have that data. So the Rockefellers sponsored the early research on dairy because they wanted to find reasons to get people to drink more of it. And what did they find? Vitamin A, vitamin D that you eat, high amounts of calcium. What are you all being sold? What is Bill Gates' favorite vitamin? It's vitamin A. Both in natural and synthetic forms. These are weird coincidences, are they not? So I'm gonna end on that one. On that vitamin C note, we've had people in the program who go and get their urinary vitamin C tested. They don't eat fruit, and their urinary vitamin C is off the charts. That's strange, isn't it? How could their urinary vitamin C be off the charts if they don't eat any and we don't store it and humans can't make it? Where did it come from? Because my people definitely are not supplementing vitamin C. Do you think maybe we might have been... first of all, you could think, am I making this up? No. I have no reason to make this up. What if humans can make vitamin C when they're not putting complete toxins in all the time? And then wouldn't you want to let your body determine how much vitamin C you wanted at one time versus not? We have been lied to about pretty much everything. So that's enough on that one. Ford says, I've had it for 9 days, got pretty sick from it. And pretty sick is not hospital. You know, the flu can make people pretty sick. It always has, right? The flu is, if you haven't seen Anthony Mawson's paper on influenza and vitamins A and vitamins D, or vitamin D, you should go find it. I forget the name of it. I'm not going to look it up right now. I've posted it like multiple times. Mawson wrote a paper on the virus and retinoids. All the symptoms of the virus actually are reflected as symptoms of excess retinoic acid in the system. They've already been shown to, the people taking retinoic acid have had all sorts of symptoms, and they called it a cytokine storm. Weird coincidences. And all the symptoms of what is going around are the same as the retinoic acid cytokine storms. The reason you're sick is because you have toxic bile that you dumped into your system. And the viruses that showed up are showing up, if they even exist, but they're showing up because of the toxicity that's floating around in your system. That's all. Apocalypse Miracle says, I know potassium iodide is not safe. Is nascent iodine or Nascent? I don't know how to say that word. Okay. I'm not going to give iodine. I'm not going to touch iodine on this channel. If you suspect any kind of thyroid issue, if it's autoimmune and you take thyroid or take iodine, you're going to make it worse. Study after study has shown that taking iodine on an autoimmune thyroid condition makes it worse. Supposedly, people in my program, people come in and they start going, oh my gosh, what am I going to do about iodine in this program? I don't see a lot of iodine foods. How are we going to get our iodine? Well, apparently we're all still alive. And I just had somebody the other day comment about their body temperature finally coming up from the 97s all the time to the 98s. And one person was like 95 to the 97s. I think the human body is extremely good at recycling certain things that are toxic when put in large amounts. And we only need a very little bit of them. I think two examples of this. Often it's the things that big time alternative and conventional medicine say we need a lot of, like calcium and iodine. Where do the, people say, well, the highest foods in iodine are dairy and kelp. Okay, do you know how they get the cows to have iodine in their milk? Seaweeds. They feed them seaweeds in their feed. Should cows naturally be eating seaweeds? So if cows didn't eat seaweeds, and let's say they were in the middle of the country, I don't know, back in the late 1800s, how were they getting their iodine? How did they live? How did anybody survive crossing the US? Going from coast to coast over months and years. How did they ever live? I think we need a little bit of iodine. I don't think we need that much. I think we're very good at recycling it, but I'm not giving if I was to use an iodine, I would use Nascent iodine. If I take none, I have a couple of clients who I have discussed it with, and I talk very specifically with them about dosing, and I talk very specifically with them about, if you don't feel any better on this within a month, stop. That's not the issue. When people are iodine deficient and they take a small bit of iodine, the problem goes away. As an example, I had one client who started using iodized salt for a short period of time, and she felt better. She felt immediately better from it. She's also from a part of the world where iodine deficiency is known to be endemic to the area. It's known that, like, iodine deficiency is a huge problem there. She took some iodized salt for, I don't know, a couple months. And then she stopped using it, and now she's fine and she doesn't need it anymore. That would fit with my theory, wouldn't it? The supplement manufacturers want you to buy their supplements for the rest of your life. You may need to, if you're working with me and we're fixing the specific minerals, you might need some minerals for the rest of your life because the soil sucks. I can tell you the minerals that have gone down since I've been working with people and looking at hair tests over and over and over and over again. It's weird. The very same minerals I tend to supplement have been shrinking in people over the years. I don't know if that's planned or not. Anyway. Free Michigan says, I have called a couple of tanning salons and neither of them know how much UVB is in their bulbs. How do I find a tanning bed where I can make UVB? All they need to know is that there's UVB in the bulbs. That's it. You can ask them the make and model of their tanning bed and then call the company. Does this put out UVB? Yes, done. No, find a different place. It will not be difficult to find. Okay? Oh, wait, why does this thing jump so far? Gretchen asks, can you elaborate on what happens with bile, vitamin A reabsorption, and cholestasis when we eat a fat-rich meal? High-fat diets are what they use in mice and rats to induce cholestasis and fatty liver. So let's just be clear on that. Fatty acids, free fatty acids, are what the body binds to alcohols to store them in the liver. Do you know that you actually can store ethanol, alcohol, in your liver for like a couple days to a week? You might store methanol in your liver. You can store retinol in your liver. I don't know if menthol can be stored in your liver, but there's a lot of things that your body will bind to these free fatty acids and store them in your liver. Okay. When you eat fats, you tend to dump bile. But here's the other problem. Fats also cause you to reabsorb bile more. So it doesn't mean you're getting rid of it. The biggest mistake that I've seen anybody who tries to get into this, they take a little bit of what I've said and they run with it and they have no idea what they're doing and they're going to hurt themselves long term is they think, oh, fat causes a bile dump. Dr. Smith said getting rid of bile is important, so I'm going to eat tons of fat. No, you're just reabsorbing all that fat because that's what happens. You're reabsorbing the fat and the bile. There's not much fat in a natural living diet. I don't care what anybody says. Wild game, beans, grains, fruits, vegetables. If you think there's like a huge abundance of nuts and seeds in the wild or avocados, you're losing your mind. And if you realize the activity level that has to happen for somebody in a natural living sense, I'm not going to say paleo, but people who don't have guns and don't have refrigerators and don't have all this stuff, there's no fat out there. There's hardly any fat. And people say, well, what about when the animals are fattening up for the winter? That's one period of time during the year. What do you think those animals are like in the summer? And animals that aren't in the high latitudes are not going to be that fatty. The Inuit argument, I throw that out the window. That's one little group of people living in one specific part of the earth. So, high-fat diets have never been natural. They are not natural. And what do the high-fat folks up in those northern latitudes, they have a term for it, pick block talk, which is going insane from eating too much vitamin A. Running around naked in the snow, screaming their heads off, schizophrenia, delusional psychosis from eating things like seal liver. And what do they also eat a lot of? Oh, a lot of fat. Oh, what helps you absorb vitamin A? Oh, it's fat. What stores vitamin A? Fat. What do you need to store vitamin A in your liver? Fat. We utilize fat specifically only in undertypes for very specific reasons to help them not lose weight and to slow down their detox. We all think a fat animal is not healthy, right? Generally, if you still think fat people can be healthy, I'm sorry. I am sorry that you have been so misled. Being fat is a sign, overweight is a sign of unhealthiness. One of the things the body does when it's I believe that the more fat you store, kind of like in the virus, the more toxins you have stored. Fat is a way to store toxins. You know what some of the liposuction doctors have been quoted as saying? I found there was a quote on the internet. They said, we can tell when people eat a healthy diet because their fat is orange. Why would their fat be orange? Oh, is that vitamin A? Carotenoids? They're eating lots of vegetables to be healthy. So what does that mean that they would dump more of? What do you think is stored in their liver if it's all stored in their body fat too? But these are people getting liposuction. They're overweight. Body fat is a storage depot for toxins. Fat animals are not healthy. I don't know why people think eating animal fat is the best thing you can do. No, it's fat that stores toxins. I saw the liver supplement, the big liver supplement by a guy who calls himself a king. Go in here. Here's a fun thing to do. Go on the Amazon page of the desiccated liver supplements of an ancestral guy who calls himself a king. Go look at the 1-star reviews. I found a couple people who said this stuff almost killed me. Interesting. Why would something that's so good for somebody almost kill people? And then there'll be the people who say, this is the most amazing thing ever. It's called the duration paradox. Imagine if somebody came out with caffeine today, like nobody had ever seen caffeine. And then everybody's exposed to caffeine and they go, this is the most amazing thing ever. I get so much work done. It's the same, it's just a drug effect. And then people don't come back to give their 2-year testimonial where they're like, oh my gosh, this ruined my life. People give the 1-month testimonials or the 1-week testimonials. That's the duration paradox. They don't come back to show everybody how duped they were and how wrong they were. And most of the time they don't even realize it because it's 2 years later. They've been taking these pills the whole time. Their health just went like this and they couldn't pin it on one thing. That's why. So anyway. But you need free fatty acids to store. I mean, the amount of absorption of vitamin A that when you eat fat with vitamin A floating around in your gut, your absorption of it skyrockets. The more fat you're eating, the more bile you're dumping, but the fat is causing you to reabsorb the bile more. You are restoring toxins, which can be used for beneficial effects in certain people, which is like 5% or less of people that I talk to. The other people should do the exact opposite. And that's that. Fully Human says, I stocked up on food due to the state of the world, but some of the grains and beans are now past the best by date. Do you think they are healthy to eat? They have been sealed in the original package. I'm planning on my stuff still being okay to eat. They put expiration dates on things because they want you to buy more. Now, I do know that dry beans that have been stored a long time do get very, I haven't done this with them yet, but I hear they do get pretty tough when you cook them. I don't care. I'm going to eat them. I don't care if they're not soft and tender. That's not what my bean storage is about. It's not about comfort. It's about survival. Don't forget to stock up some heirloom seeds too, some organic heirloom seeds. I forget which place I went to, but I went to a place that sells heirloom seeds and you can pick your own stuff. And I was picking all the white versions of things. White melons, white carrots, white beans, like everything was white. Because then I can grow all sorts of stuff and the vitamin A content will be way, way, way lower. I also got some tobacco seeds so I can be the king trader. But that's just the way I think. Also store up salt. Oh my gosh, could you imagine if everybody was eating food without salt? And then you come in and you're like, I have some salt to trade. What will you trade me for some salt? Think of what they'd give you to have their food actually taste like something again. Just ideas. Not that I think about this stuff. I think about a lot of things. Marie asks, what are your thoughts on melatonin, not only for sleep, but for immune system fighting viruses, etc.? I think that we should be working on fixing why the melatonin is not being made, first of all. What affects your brain? The bile in your blood that goes up there. And what's in the bile in your blood that goes up there? Toxic copper, toxic manganese. Do you know that Parkinson's is associated with manganese toxicity? You know that Alzheimer's is associated with aluminum toxicity? Do you know you store both of those minerals in your liver? Melatonin might be helpful short term, but it's a Band-Aid. If you feel really groggy in the morning from melatonin, you're either on too much or you don't. It's not what you need. Sure, it can knock you out. But I mean, most people are taking melatonin to help them sleep because they're tired. And then if you take melatonin and you're groggy all the next day, that's not really helping now, is it? I mean, people take sleeping pills and they actually show in the research that they're not actually asleep, but they wake up, and because they don't remember, it ruins their memory formation. And because they don't remember the night where they were awake, they think they slept. It's the greatest placebo effect in the world. Do you think it's really fooling the body that much? They might be able to fool their brain for a while, but it's probably not fooling their body. So, Forever a Student says, like the more professional background. Yeah, I'm gonna work on it. I haven't touched it. I like it a lot. I mean, I just moved my office like 90 degrees, and it's so much better. It's better for my consults. It's better for everything. So thank you. The only thing I did this morning was, the lactoferrin. We just got our second shipment of lactoferrin in because the first shipment was sold out, 700 bottles, and it's going amazing. Don't waste your time and energy and money on other lactoferrins if you want the best effect with the least potential, where people talk about Herxheimer reactions, the least potential aggravations. If you want the least potential aggravations, you want this stuff. Don't waste your time or money. We already did that. We have the 800-person network who tried the different lactoferrins, and we have tons of feedback. And buy nice, don't buy twice is the same. So Allison says, but butter has been around for centuries. Something being around for centuries doesn't mean anything. I'm not gonna, here, let me finish this. Possibly raw is better. Gluten-free grains for me because of Hashimoto on my end. AIP diet. I fix people from the AIP diet. That's not the way out. AIP diet. Here's what the AIP diet will do for you folks. It might reduce your symptoms, but you never get to escape it. And we have some people who now have like no thyroid antibodies. They fixed their issue. Remove grains, dairy, egg, and then add back as tolerated. Not easy. Well, why would people have to keep coming back to the AIP diet if they remove dairy and remove eggs and then put them back in? What do you think problem they're going to have again? It's going to be the same problem. And then the whole time they were eating sweet potato and carrots. There's a reason why these things, if you go on a diet that's supposed to help you, and maybe you feel better while you're on it, and you try to come off of that diet at all, and everything goes right back to the way it was, you didn't fix a dang thing. Now, when people really get far in the vitamin A detox, can they go and eat foods that are high in vitamin A? Yeah. Do they want to usually? No. But might they? Sure. Does it ruin them? No. They might not feel good the next day. But I mean, you eat poison, you're not going to feel good the next day. That should be an obvious one. You go and you get drunk, you don't expect to feel good the next day. You ingested poison. The cool thing is as you get cleaner, when you do eat poisons, you can feel it better because you're more in touch with your body and you're not confused by all these toxic signals in your system. But I don't argue about things that have been around for centuries, or what about the Okinawans and what about these people? I don't argue, I don't even debate that, because we're talking about Westerners right here, right now. We're talking about pokies. We're talking about medications all through their lives. We're talking about cosmetics. We're talking about cleaning products. We're talking about toxic paint, toxic flooring, weird fad diets, high fat diets, juicing diets, low protein diets like 80-10-10 or vegan. All of these things that people are doing, let's go on a Weston diet and eat tons of liver and dairy and eggs, and don't compare today to 100 years ago. It doesn't help. I had 2 tablespoons of butter this morning, which is the maximum that I put in the program because it helps people stay on the program if they decide to take it. Am I advising people to take it? No, it's probably better not to take it. The program is not a prison, and I am not a warden. I don't care what you eat. And by that, I mean all of you. I don't care what you eat. My job is not to care what you eat. My job is to help you know what to do to get better. I'm like a guide. I'm not a hand holder. I'm not a guru who says, do this, or if you don't do this, then you're a bad person. I started telling people a long time ago, if I actually cared what people ate, I would have been dead long ago of stress. I can't care what you do. I don't care what the Okinawans did. They're not here right now. And might they have been better had they known to eat some other things? Sure. I mean, do you think 100 years ago in Okinawa there was a huge arsenic problem in their rice? No. Might there be today? Sure. Might there be a problem of fluoride in the tea that they want to drink today because the things in the soil have changed? Sure. Do you think their food might not be as nutritious today? You know that 50% of the soils in China are considered to be depleted in zinc? 50%. Do you think that was true 3,000 years ago when the traditional Chinese medicine books were being written? Don't compare now in the Western world where we are actively trying to be poisoned and undernutriented, undernourished, if you want to call it that, to 100 years ago. A lot of the studies now where they take 2 groups of people, all these people are not well. But then they say, oh, we did this for this group, and this group did a little better than this group. They're all still sick, but this group did a little better. It's just like saying, well, we had a bunch of failing students, but this group moved from an F to a D. And you're like, really? Really? So yeah, I don't do the appeal to history fallacy arguments, basically. Dom Juan asks, is glutamine beneficial for the leaky gut? No, I have never seen it done jack squat. Leaky gut is a bile problem. If you poop regularly, I go over charcoal in the program, dosing and stuff like that. If you poop regularly, charcoal or soluble fiber like psyllium or from other foods is probably more beneficial for your leaky gut. But the cause of leaky gut is toxic bile. And I have research on that. I've posted it before. Yeah, so Sam says there's a duration paradox in moisturizers. It makes skin good short term, then turns it bad long term. Very good observation, Sam. Why would beauty companies want to sell you products that fix you short term and make you worse long term? So you keep buying their crap. It's like they say about washing your hair. You wash your hair, which takes the natural oils off, which then either makes it dry or your body kicks up oil production to make more oil for your hair because your body wants it, because your body's trying to fight back against the next washing. And then you go and you wash it all out again. Oh, now I have oily hair. Now I got to get the oily hair shampoo, which is even stronger. Do you see? They're all manipulating you into buying more crap that makes you sicker. The supplement industry is doing it. 99% of the supplements out there are bad for you. They're more like drugs than they are nutrients. So, Free Michigan asks, what do you use for home cleaning products? All the natural ones have essential oils, and I can't stand the smell of vinegar in the dry ones. I don't have time to get into that. My situation is not as good as I would like it to be, but part of that is because I just don't have the time to do the cleaning, and I don't have the time to regulate that stuff. Would I like it to be better? Yes. You can look up natural cleaning products, and there's stuff out there. You got to experiment with it. But there's no reason to have things that have to smell. The smell doesn't do anything. And when you start to realize, which I'm going over in a meeting with, I'm going to have a meeting with some of the vitamin A leaders, Grant Generu and Anthony Mawson, and my buddy Josh Getzko is setting it all up, and we're going to chat. And that'll be a fun conversation. But one of the links I sent was that, so you know how I said inhibiting ALDH seems to make the virus go away? So ALDH is where aldehydes are converted to acids. Retinaldehyde to retinoic acid, formaldehyde to formic acid, acetaldehyde from ethanol to acetic acid, which is what's the active ingredient in vinegar, if you will. So if I'm saying that they can inhibit ALDH, which is long-term damaging to the liver, that would increase aldehydes, would it not? Right? You're blocking the conversion into acids, so you would make more aldehydes. What does more aldehydes do to the viruses? Let me look that up. I sent this study. Now just remember, I'm definitely not advocating this. I just put the link on there. Virucidal activity of retinal, which means retinaldehyde. Virucidal activity of retinaldehyde. How would we make more retinaldehyde? Oh, we shut down ALDH. That's right. What do all these drugs do? Oh, they shut down ALDH. What does quercetin and D3 do? Oh, it shuts down ALDH. Are viruses the cause of this problem? Not in my opinion. Do they seem to magically appear when this problem is around? Yes. Let's talk about this for a second. You ever hear about that African president? I don't remember which country, but he used one of the virus tests on a pawpaw, which is kind of like a mango, which is what color? Yellowish, orangish in that area. Oh, it tested positive, you say. And then I think they tested goat meat or goat milk. I don't remember which one it was. Or I don't know if it was just goat blood. But do you know that goats are like some of the highest animals that we get milk from in vitamin A? And the goat, that's just what they said. They said goat tested positive. Weird coincidence, right? And then somebody else I heard on TikTok recently put some orange juice on the test, and it tested positive. What is orange juice really high in, and what color is it? Oh, it's yellow or orange? Like oranges are orange, and then orange juice is yellow? Are you seeing a pattern here? We know what causes the symptoms. ALDH, retinaldehyde, retinoic acid. Retinoic acid is the most damaging form of vitamin A. For those of you who took Accutane, you know this because that's what Accutane is retinoic acid. It's 13-cis retinoic acid. And then if you remember the study on soldiers where they gave veterans Retin A, all trans retinoic acid cream for their face to hopefully prevent skin cancer. And they had to shut down the study because too many of them were dying. And then there's 3 separate studies on carotenoids, beta carotene, that they had to shut down because people were dying too early. And then we have, orange juice and pawpaw melon and goat testing positive on this virus test. What might be triggering the test actually, do you think? Do you know that I have research showing that vitamin A will show up in all of your body fluids, your tears, your saliva, your just everywhere, your sweat. I've had people come to the program who say they sweat at night and their bed turns orange where they sweat. What do you think they might be testing for up there? How can they how can they make all these tests so quickly? What if they were all testing for the same thing? So Apocalypse asks, I can't tell if I'm an over or under type. I've been pretty much the same weight all my life. Sometimes I want to eat when I'm stressed and sometimes I don't. Can you be neither type? The way I would figure that out for you, it doesn't really, here's the simple thing. If you're in the program and you know what things are generally good for you, then you simply do that. Undertypes are further along the liver damage spectrum. Undertypes are further, they're worse off. Overtypes, we've had a couple people as we're fixing them, they actually switched in their lab, and you can tell from labs too. Undertypes move to overtypes before they become normal. It's an evolution thing. Here's the example I use a lot, alcohol. Somebody's an alcoholic. Oh, when they're in their 20s, they can get away with it for a while, but then they start gaining weight and getting the fat inflamed face. So they start gaining weight. They go into the over phase. And what happens to alcoholics when they've been doing this long enough? Then they start losing tons of weight. They move into the under phase. They do have the big belly, the big hard belly, because that's their fatty liver. But then they start not being able to hold weight on other places. They get the super skinny arms and the toothpick legs and, and the neck that shrinks smaller than their head in men. That's always the cherry on a toothpick look is always a way you know that you have like an undertype. And that's not for females because women have smaller necks than their heads. But for men, whenever you see a vegan guru who's like, their neck is like way in. I have a study. Where's the study? I don't know. Where's the study? I have a study on vegans where it shows that vegans have more bile in their blood than the people eating kind of the standard diet. Unders make less bile, but it goes more in the blood. Overs make more bile, but then it goes more in the gut, but some still goes back into the blood. It's figuring out these differences. This is what I do. So anyway, that's all the questions for today. I'm really glad you guys came and asked lots of questions. I didn't get to the topics I wanted to because I saw so many questions. For those of you who don't know, nutritiondetective.com, that is where the Love Your Liver program is. That's where you can find the lactoferrin, the only one I would recommend. We do ship internationally now. You just got to email Julie about that. admin@nutritiondetective.com. And we've had lots of new people joining the network. We were already over 800 people. So think of it as like a little mini Facebook where you can ask other people questions. That's where you can come and ask questions about cleaning products and cosmetics and stuff. Like I'm never going to get into the cosmetic question because I never use it. People ask me about tanning beds, and I go, I live in Tucson, Arizona. I will never, ever need a tanning bed because I'm going to go outside. So I don't have any information from that, but we have potentially 800 other people who can help you with that information. And it's not social media, and it's not forums, and it's not any of that stuff where you get everybody's an expert and there's not enough cooperation. We have an amazing amount of cooperation on the network. People spend thousands of dollars on their health, and then they see the little $60-ish charge for the network, and they go, oh, that's too much. And I go, oh, seriously? Really? Okay. So anyway, thanks for joining us today. I'm going to go do my inner circle now, which is, I'll probably be there another hour and a half, maybe 2 hours today, answering more specific questions where I can talk more freely than I can here. So yeah, y'all have a great weekend. Bye now.